What's going on, everyone out there? It's the NFL Exporter checking in for FinManiacs.com. This is a special edition of my column on the website called The Fish Tank, where I talk about the Miami Dolphins. And so far, through 2 games this season, something that I talked about and stressed in the preseason is happening for the Miami Dolphins. I talked about how the Dolphins have a potential top 10 defense on paper. I really like what they brought to the table on the front lines with Jared Udrick, Randy Stark, Cameron Wake, and Vernon Oliver. I like what they had at linebacker with Dannell Ellerbe, as well as Philip Wheeler. I like the tandem they had at defensive back with Brent Grimes and Cortland Finnegan. And I love them bringing over Louis Delmas, the hard-hitting, instinctive safety from the Detroit Lions. My question was the Miami Dolphins offense going to be able to hold their weight? And through the first 2 games, that has not been the case. In week 1, the Dolphins won at home 33-20 over the New England Patriots. They had to overcome a 20-10 halftime deficit. They did so by running off 23 straight points in the second half. And during that stretch, it was really the defense who energized them, led by Cameron Wake, who had 2 sacks on Tom Brady, forcing 2 fumbles. It was also the running of Noshawn Moreno that really energized this team. In that game, the Dolphins had 38 rush attempts for 191 yards and 2 rushing TDs, and limited Tom Brady in that offense in the second half. In that game, quarterback Ryan Tannehill, although he wasn't asked to do a lot, had a pretty good game. He was 18 out of 32 with 178 yards, 2 TDs and an interception. One of those touchdown passes, which went to Mike Wallace, could have easily been knocked down. Darrelle Revis, the cornerback for New England, actually did knock the ball down, but there was enough traffic around where the ball remained in the air, and Wallace was able to grab it out of midair for the touchdown. And so that game really was about the home crowd getting into it again with that defense led by Cameron Wake, forcing turnovers, and the ground game really going with Noshawn Moreno leading the way there. In the second game, they lost on the road to the Buffalo Bills. Now, there were a couple injuries that hurt Miami coming into this game. None of their starting linebackers, which are Koei Amisa, Philip Wheeler, or Dannell Ellerbe, played in that game. Ellerbe, unfortunately, was lost for the year in that first game against New England. Both Koei Amisa and Philip Wheeler sat this one out with injuries. Now, nonetheless, the Dolphins, I felt, could have made a statement in this game. I know when I was doing my show on another station, somebody brought up a good point that in regards to this Miami Dolphins team, you don't know which team is going to show up on a week in and week out basis. And that's pretty much what we've seen in the game last week. Now, let's take in consideration a couple things. First of all, running back Noshawn Moreno was injured on the Dolphins' first possession. He has a dislocated elbow. He's going to be out 4 to 8 weeks, and I really feel like that took the air out of Miami's offense and team from the very beginning, seeing your star player go down with an injury. Another thing that we've seen took place here is just like in that first game, Miami fell behind. They were down 9-0 at halftime. And so in both of these games, due to a slow start, and particularly by the offense, who put up 10 points in the first game, in the first half, put up no points in this game, Miami is really getting off to slow starts. And then in the second half, just were not able to get back into it. Every time that they cut into the Bills' lead, they allowed the Bills to make big plays. They cut the lead to 9-3. Following that field goal, they let C.J. Spiller run back a kickoff 102 yards to push the lead back up to 16-3. And then after Mike Wallace caught a touchdown and cut the lead to 16-10, they allowed the Bills to march down the field on a 6-play, 77-yard drive that ended with a 12-yard touchdown reception by Sammy Watkins to finally put this one out of reach. This was another game where the offense really struggled. You had Ryan Tannehill having to throw 49 times. Now, running back Lamar Miller rolled his ankle and did not play as well, but that is still too much passing. Again, they were down early, so they got forced into that. Miami is not an offense that's built to come from behind, don't have those type of weapons in place. But again, Tannehill was 31 of 49, 241 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He was also sacked 4 times. You could see a contrast success in the running game from week 1. Only 21 rushes for 80 yards. And even Mike Wallace, even though he had a touchdown, he led the team with 56 receiving yards. Certainly nothing to brag about. Now, as I mentioned, this defense did its part, held the Bills to 1 touchdown, which was the touchdown from Sammy Watkins. Outside of that, they held the Bills in check, making them kick all field goals. But the defense was unable to get to second-year quarterback E.J. Manuel, who was very efficient, completing 16 of 26 passes for 202 yards and a touchdown. Also allowed the Bills to control the clock, running 33 times for 113 yards. And so at this point, it's only 2 games into the season, but the Dolphins certainly have some questions that they're going to have to address. Right now, they've lost 2 of their top players. Again, Donnell Ellerbe, the outside linebacker, is gone for the year. Nosha Moreno is slated to miss 4 to 8 weeks with that dislocated elbow. And so this offense certainly has its work cut out. Again, the defense has done its part this year. There's no question about that. But the offense has not been able to carry the weight in those 2 games. What I see needs to happen, number 1, they've got to find a way to run the ball effectively. Here's another opportunity for Lamar Miller to really take control of that number 1 running back position. They've got to improve in the passing game. Right now, Ryan Tannehill's averaging 189 passing yards, 3 TDs, 2 interceptions, and 5 sacks. Certainly not the numbers that you want to hear from your starting quarterback. And I think the missing piece is, where's Brian Hartline, the number 2 receiver? He's only got 7 catches for 62 yards. And I thought that Charles Clay was a guy that they would try to utilize a little more. He only has 9 catches for 58 yards. And so that defense, as we talked about, is really going to have to hold things together until the Dolphins can put it all together on offense. And through the first 2 games, they have really struggled to do that. This week they play the Kansas City Chiefs, a team that right now they mirror very much. Both of these teams have tough defenses, have quarterbacks who are not asked to do a lot to really just kind of manage the game. Both of these teams will not have their best running backs available for this one. And so it should be real intriguing to see how this one plays out. But again, we talked about this in the preseason. Can the Miami Dolphins defense do enough to help the Dolphins win games up until the point that the offense gets on track? And through the first 2 games, we have to say the answer is no. You know, Miami really was able to capitalize on gashing the Patriots in week 1. In week 2, even though the defense only gave up 1 touchdown, Miami's offense was not able to put up the points, only scoring 10. We'll see how things go moving forward in the future. Thank you for tuning in to the Fish Tank. Once again, I am the NFL Exporter for FinManiacs.com.